Good day, class. This is Ma'am Renz again, and welcome to Science Time. So it's chemistry time again. For our module number 2, the title is Mind over Matter, States of Matter. This is the pattern on how you are going to answer this module. So follow the pattern from pre-test to post-test. For our most essential learning competencies, we have to explain the properties of solids, liquids, and gases based on the particle nature of matter. And these are the following objectives. 1. Describe the arrangement of particles of water when it reaches its boiling point. 2. Describe the arrangement of ice particles when it reaches its melting point. 3. Describe the density and specific gravity of different substances. And 4. Identify and describe the classification of matter based on its composition like element, compound, and mixture. So let us begin first with 5-item pretest. Number 1. A pot is placed on a stove added by 100 ml of water at room temperature. What will happen in the water if the temperature continues increasing? A. Turns into solid. B. Turns into a gas. C. Become more dense. D. Show no change in temperature. Next, number 2. Which one best describes when water reaches its boiling point? A. Particles are close together. B. Particles stay the same. C. Particles move slowly. D. Particles move rapidly. Number 3. How will an object float on a liquid? A. The object must be less dense than the liquid. B. The object must be denser than the liquid. C. The object must be cooled to the same temperature as the liquid. D. The object must be heated to the same temperature as the liquid. Number 4. Matter is anything that has mass and volume. Which of the following is not a matter? A. Air. B. Light. C. Table. D. Water. Number 5. A pure substance consists only of one substance. Which of the following is not a pure substance? A. Air. B. Iron. C. Sugar. D. Water. If you are through answering the pretest, let us check. Number 1, it's letter B, turns into a gas. Number 2, it's letter D, particles move rapidly. Number 3, A, the object must be less dense than the liquid. Number 4, letter B, light. Number 5, A, air. Now let's move. Last meeting, we discussed why solids have a constant or fixed shape and volume at a constant temperature, and also why liquids have a fixed or constant volume but can change their shape, and why gases can easily change both their shape and volume. The structure of solids, liquids, and gases says that all matter is composed of tiny particles, and these particles are called atoms. Next, these particles are in constant motion. So even if it is solid in which the arrangement is compact, still all particles of the solids move in constant motion, including liquids and gases, and all the matter, okay? They are in constant motion. In short, they are moving all the time. Next, the movement of the molecules is related to temperature. Increasing the temperature will make the molecules move faster, while decreasing the temperature will make the molecules move slower. So, nakita natin last time na pag nagdadagdag tayo ng heat, say for example in solid, nagtuturn siya into liquid. Kasi bumibilis yung movement ng particles ng solid, nagkakaroon sila ng little spaces between them. While when we add more heat to liquid, mas lalo mag-escape yung mga particles. So, it will move faster and faster until it become gases. Next, solids, gases, and liquids differ in the freedom of motion of their particles and in how strongly the particles attract each other. So, kanya-kanyang motion, bilis, bagal, kanya-kanyang movement and arrangement, yung mga particles ng three states of matter. Now, take a look on table 1, physical state of matter. And these are the summary, no? So, nakita natin yung spacing of molecules for solid, liquid, and gas, compressibility, volume, shape, density, and the molecular attraction. So, they are different from each other. So, based from the table, we're going to answer the 3 questions below using the table and the diagram A, B, and C. You're going to identify which is solid, liquid, or gas based on the illustration and using the table above. Ito yung sinasabi natin last time. So, may kanya-kanyang arrangement ang solid, liquid, and gas, including plasma and all the states of matter. No? Hindi lang 3 ang states of matter natin. Marami yan. But the common na inaaral are the solid, liquid, and gas. So, here sa picture, included ang plasma for you to understand that if we add more and more heat, nag-iiba-iba ang ating transition ng matter from solid turns to liquid, liquid turns to gas, and eventually it will become plasma as we add more heat. Paano kapag binawasan yung heat? So say for example, from plasma, nag-remove tayo ng heat, so naging less, magto-turn siya into gas. And if we remove more heat, so mas magko-cool down siya, the gas will turn into liquid. And bawasan pa natin ng init, then magiging solid na siya. And yung arrangement nila ay ganyan pa din. So now, I tabulated the structures, the different structures and characteristics of solid, liquid, and gas. So, for the shape, meron tayong fixed shape for the solid. So, kung circle siya, circle, hindi magbabago. Liquid takes the shape of the container and also the gas. For the molecular arrangement, kung paano sila naka-arrange. Sa solid, they are very close and definite, no? Kung rectangle yan, rectangle talaga. While for the liquid, they are random, so medyo kalat-kalat. Pero kahit paano, mas malapit sa isa't isa compared sa gas, which is random and far apart. For the mass, solid, closely packed, so siksik talaga, no? High density, incompressible kasi compressed na siya. But for the liquid, more densely packed than gas, so masiksik kesa sa gas kasi less dense ang gas. Relatively incompressible kasi medyo konti lang naman yung spaces between them. Unlike the gas, very compressible kasi they are very far apart. For the volume, both solid and liquid have fixed volume. So, kung 10 ml yung liquid, 10 ml lang talaga siya. Okay? Kung 5 grams yung solid na tinimbang mo, 5 grams talaga. Unlike gases, it changes in volume to fill its container. Kasi nga, tinitake niya yung shape ng container, including yung volume. For the movement of molecules, yung solid do not move freely kasi naka-arrange siya eh. So, they vibrate weakly in fixed position. So, hindi naman ibig sabihin hindi gumagalaw kasi sabi natin kanina, all particles, whether solid, liquid, or gas, they are moving all the time. Yun nga lang, slow. Sa liquid naman, they are moving freely but confined within a boundary. So, umiikot-ikot or gumagalaw-galaw lang yung tubig doon lang sa container. No? So, yun yung boundary niya. And then, moderate ang kanyang paggalaw compared sa solid. While for the gas, fast. Diba? Pag nag-diffuse yung perfume, naamoy mo agad hanggang dulo, maamoy ganun kabilis. Because particles can move freely and can change position with other particles because they are very fast moving. For the boiling point, solid much higher than room temperature. So, ganun nagbo-boil ang solid kasi mabilis. Liquid higher than room temperature and boils at 100 degrees Celsius. So, ganun kataas yung kanyang boiling point. For the gas, lower than room temperature yung boiling point. For the melting point, different solid melts at different temperatures. So, kanya-kanya sila ng paraan kung paano nagme-melt at iba't ibang temperature. Depende sa uri ng solid. Kung ano ang melting point ng solid, ganun din ang freezing point ng liquid. For the liquid naman, melting point niya aabot sa measurement na 0.1 degrees Celsius while the freezing point 0 degrees Celsius. Yung gas do not melt. Kasi iba yun. Hindi sila gumamelt kasi layo-layo yan. They are moving freely. For the density, pinakasiksik ang solid. And liquid naman, moderate. And then, low for the gas. For the specific gravity, materials with less than 1 will float. Pag more than 1, lulubog. Okay? Yun yung specific gravity natin for solid. For the liquid naman, yung water may specific gravity na 1. So, object will neither sink nor float. It will hover in the liquid. So, sasama siya sa liquid. For the gas naman, yung hangin sa room temperature, 20 degrees. Now, the gases with a specific gravity less than 1 will rise in the atmosphere at sea level, while greater than 1 will sink. So, yung hot air balloon, kaya pala siya nakaka-float kasi nga mainit, less than 1. Okay? Pero pag greater than 1, kapag malamig, no, magsisink siya. So, hot air rise, cold air sink. Ayan. For the intermolecular forces, ito yung bonding, no? Very strong kasi nga ang solid compactly arranged. For the liquid, moderate. And gas, weak kasi layo-layo. For the fluidity means the inability to be changed. Very rigid and cannot flow yung solid. Sa liquid, mas kahit papano nakaka-flow. No? Medyo viscous na siya. Sa gas, no rigidity and can flow easily. So, kayang-kaya niyang mag-flow kasi nga they are moving freely. Yung rate of diffusion niya, very slowly sa solid. Yung liquid naman slower than gas. And yung gas diffuse very well. So, pag nag-spray tayo ng perfume, lalo na yung mga sinishake natin, yung mga bottles na maririnig natin sumisirit, no? Yung can, yon maririnig natin yung gas pag in-spray natin. Talagang umaamoy sa buong kwarto, hindi na sa damit mo because gases diffuse very well. For the kinetic energy, pag solid, mababa yung energy niya kasi hindi siya ganun mabilis na gumagalaw. Yung liquid naman, higher than solids. And then gas, highest energy. Kasi they are moving very fast. They are moving freely. Now, let us discuss the particle model of matter. There are 4 particle model of matter statement. The first one is, matter is made up of tiny particles. Alam na natin yan, starting the first discussion natin for the module 1, and it is called atom. Number 2, particles of matter are moving all the time. Yun yung sinabi ko kanina na kahit solid siya and they are vibrating in a fixed position, still gumagalaw yan. Lahat yan, solid, liquid, gas, and other states of matter. So, wala nakahinto. Okay? 3, these particles have spaces between them. So, meron silang space na ginagalawan. 4, the particles of matter attract each other. Kaya nagkakaroon tayo ng mga bonding. No? Because of attraction of particles from each other. Ito yung 4 na particle model statements about matter. That's why we have different structures and characteristic or properties of solid, liquid, and gas, as well as the other states of matter. So, ito lang yung basis natin, itong 4 na to. Now, for our brief introduction, there are properties of matter that is independent and dependent on size that cause physical change. So, on your module 1, I already discussed the physical and chemical changes of matter. So, briefly ko lang siyang diniscuss, pero mabibigyan na tayo ng enlightenment na kung saan ang physical change ay nangyayari in 2 forms, pwedeng intensive and extensive, diba? So, related sila or pwedeng hindi related sa size. Now, we have here one example that is independent to size that cause physical change is a temperature. When we say temperature, it is proportional to the average kinetic energy of particles in a substance. Bakit kinetic energy? Kasi nga gumagalaw. Energy that is in motion or moving is called kinetic energy. So that is in accordance with our discussion for the first quarter physics. So, halimbawa yung yellow, ayan, natunaw siya due to temperature. Hindi naman natin nasukat, no? So, independent siya sa size and it causes physical change. Next, boiling point. Independent din siya sa size. Hindi naman natin nasukat, pero nag-cause siya ng physical change. When we say boiling point, it is the temperature at which liquid form of a substance changes to gaseous form. So, simply liquid to gas. So, nagkakaroon tayo ng changes via boiling point. So, sabi natin kanina sa characteristic ng liquid, in order for the liquid to boil, you have to reach 100 degrees Celsius. Boiling point na yun ng water. So, yung water kapag nag-boil, water pa rin. So, physical change na yun na bago due to temperature. But still, it is water, a boiling water. For the melting point naman, is the temperature at which solid form of a substance changes to liquid form. So, this is from solid to liquid. O yung butter, diba? Pag nag-melt siya, butter pa din naman siya. So, the cause of it is the melting point. So, temperature change pa din siya. Physical change lang kasi butter pa din naman siya. So, independent siya sa size. Independent siya sa size kasi hindi naman natin sinukat yung length, no? But the temperature, yung pinag-uusapan natin. Next naman is density. So, dito naman yung density, ito naman yung related naman siya sa size. Kasi sinusukat natin ang mass or ratio of mass to its volume. So, kung gaano siya kasikset, density yung tawag doon. So, related siya sa size and at the same time, it causes physical change. O magbigay ako ng example ng density para mas maintindihan. Yung tinapay, yung tasty. Kapag kinrumple mo siya sa feast mo, then kumuha ka pa ng isang tinapay na nakaspread out, masiksik yung kinrumpled mo ng kamay mo, no? Kesa doon sa hindi, doon sa square lang. Ganun din sa paper. Pag nag-crumple ka ng paper, compare doon sa flat na paper, diba? Mas dense na yung crumpled paper kesa doon sa naka-flat lang na surface ng paper. So, that's density. Hindi lang sa solid may density, including liquids and gases. Specific gravity is the fraction of an object which will be below the fluid. Fluid dito na tinutukoy is the water. So, pwede siya mag-float, pwedeng mag-sink. Okay? Depende sa specific gravity ng bawat object. So, depende sa specific gravity na solid, iba't ibang materials ang solid, ganun din sa liquid, maraming iba't ibang uri ng liquid, may kanya-kanya yung specific gravity as well as the gases. So, sabi natin kanina, yung hot air mag-float while the cold air sink, no? So, yun yung specific gravity ng air. Next, all matter consists of pure substances or mixtures. O, inaral natin yun no elementary and also included in your grade 7 kung naaalala nyo. Pure substances can be elements or compounds. So, tingnan natin ha. Ano ba yung mga yan kung naaalala nyo pa? When we say element, yan yung nakikita nyo sa periodic table. No? Elements, madami yan. It is a substance that cannot be broken down into simpler substances even by a chemical reaction. Kasi simplest form na yung element. The elements can be classified as metal, semi-metal, or metalloid, and non-metal. Yan, yung mga iron, example yan ng metal, gold, silver, yan. Non-metal naman, yung mga carbon, fluorine, yan. So, these elements cannot be broken down kasi na siya siya na yung pinaka-simplest form. Even chemical reaction, hindi na yan magiging simplest pa kasi simplest na siya. While as compound, so this is substance composed of two or more elements. So, pag pinagsama na natin halimbawa si sodium, element yon, and chlorine, element din yon. So, two element na yon na pinag-combine. Compound na siya. Okay? So, it has properties different from those of the elements kasi nga, pinag-combine mo na. So, element and compounds are under pure substances. While mixture is made up of two or more substances which is not chemically combined and can be separated by physical process like filtration, evaporation, distillation, etc. Example of it is air. Ha? Yung air natin, halo-halo yan. May carbon dyan, may oxygen dyan, may nitrogen dyan. Yan. So, mixture yon. Ang air natin is a mixture of different gases. And then, hindi naman siya chemically combined, kaya kaya natin siyang ma-separate physically. Okay? Chemical process are not needed to separate mixture. Ayan, nasabi na natin kanina, hindi nga siya chemically combined, kaya kaya natin through physical process or processes. So, this is the classification of matter flow chart. Tingnan natin mabuti. Simple lang naman siyang aralin. Matter. May tanong dito. Can the matter be separated by physical means? If it is yes, then it is mixture. But if it is no, which means it cannot be separated by physical means, then it will fall under pure substance. Now, by using a physical property such as size, color, texture, mass, weight, density, we can identify and answer if it is a yes or a no. Yung tanong na, can the matter be separated by physical means? Okay? So, gagamit ka lang ng mga physical property. Yan, nabanggit na natin. Size, color, texture, mass, weight, density, and among others pa. So, now, if it is a yes, then the matter is considered as mixture. Another, yung mixture ba na yan uniform all throughout? If it is a yes, then it is a homogeneous mixture. If it is no, then it is heterogeneous mixture. Ano ba yung homogeneous mixture, no? So, meron tayo dito ang example tulad ng solution. Yun yung, pag sabi nating homo, pag pinagsama mo yung mga substances na yon, hindi mo na makita or ma-identify by your eyes kung asan yung isa, asan na yung isa, kasi nga naghalo na sila, no? But still, you can separate it physically, not chemically. So, example natin, solution. Yan, nakikita nyo yung solution, di ba? Ito, yung arrow tinuturo ko. A solution is a type of homogeneous mixture. So, one or more substances dissolve in another. Example, water and sugar. So, pag kinumbine mo yan, makakabuo ka ng sugar solution. So, may na-dissolve at may nang-dissolve. So, papasok dito si solvent, solute. So, anything na nade-dissolve, solute yung tawag. So, alin na solute sa example ko? Sugar yon. Solvent naman, it does the dissolving. So, that is the water. So, when you mix it, hahalo na siya, homogeneous. So, pag tinikman mo siya, alam mo na sugar yon. Kasi lasang sugar. Di naman nagbago kasi physical change lang eh. So, homogeneous mixture yon. Okay? Ano naman yung alloy? One or more solids dissolve in another solid. So, hindi lang pala yung liquid yung pwede nating i-dissolve, no? Pag pinag-uusapan natin na solid na nagdi-dissolve sa another solid, alloy naman daw ang tawag doon. Okay? Pero pag solute, solvent, solution yon. Okay? Solution. Now, let's move to heterogeneous mixture. So, nag-note tayo kanina, ibig sabihin, hindi uniform all throughout. Ano ibig sabihin nun? Pag hinalo mo siya, nakikita mo pa rin yung isa't isa. Okay? Pwede mong kunin, alam mo, halo-halo, no? Makikita mo pa rin kung nasa yung pinipig, yung ube, yung leche flan, yung banana, ayan. Heterogeneous mixture. Example, mga chocolate chip cookies, mga raisin bread, mga cereals, nakikita mo pa rin na lumulutang sila. So, hetero means different, homo means the same. Yung pinagkaiba nilang dalawa. But both of them are mixture. Now, let's go to the pure substances. So, pag hindi siya kayang i-separate by physical means, no siya, then that is pure substances. We have here another question. Can it be chemically decomposed, yung pure substances? Pag yes, compound siya. Pero pag no, element siya. So, kapag chemically decomposed siya, kaya niya mag-broken into parts by breaking the bonds. If that is a yes, magiging compound siya. Atoms of two or more elements bonded together, compound ang mabubuo. Dito sa compound, two or more different elements are combined together. Example, hydrogen, oxygen. Pag dalawang hydrogen, isang oxygen, makaka-form ka ng H2O or simply water. Yan. And then, meron tayong example na sulfuric acid and sodium chloride. Ayan, mga yan can be compound. Kasi yung sulfuric acid, combination na yan ng hydrogen, sulfur, and oxygen. And then, for the sodium chloride, combination na siya ng sodium and chlorine. So, combination siya ng mga elements bonded together. Now, on the element side naman, so yung element, under siya ng no, dun sa sagot. Hindi siya chemically na nade-decompose. Okay? No ang sagot, element siya. So, element, sabi dito, atoms of only one element. Kasi simplest form na nga siya. Atoms of only one element may be two or more atoms of the same element bonded together. So, pwede silang mag-bond sa isa't isa. Example, hydrogen. Pwede siyang mag-bond sa sarili niya. Okay? Oxygen can bond to the same element. Chlorine, pwede sa sarili niya. Iron, carbon, oxygen. So, pwedeng tatlong oxygen, pwedeng dalawang oxygen. Yung may mga subscript na 2, ang tawag sa kanila diatoms. Di kasi, hindi namatay, di-I. Ibig sabihin 2. No? But, the rest, pwede naman tatlo. Like yung oxygen natin, no? Na isa, O3, yung isa, O2. Yung O2, yung diatom. Well, anyway, basta hindi siya chemically na de-decompose, no ang answer doon, element siya papatak. Okay? But both compound and element is under pure substances. Okay? So, kita naman natin sa chart. Now, as continuation, pag mixture, pwede siyang ma-separate using filtration, evaporation, and distillation, and other process for the separation of mixtures. Again, hindi na kailangan ng chemical separation for the mixture to be separated. Physically lang lahat ng mga yan. Next, for the heterogeneous mixture, pwede siyang colloid suspension. Ayan. Next naman, for the elements, nasabi na natin to kanina, pwede siyang maging metal, non-metals, metalloids, or semi-metals. Now, pwede na kayo magsagot ng activities. For the activity 1, sundin nyo lang yung ating direction. May part A and part B dyan. So, ingat lang kayo when handling water na mainit. Okay? And then, you answer the guide questions. Follow nyo lang and analyze yung illustration sa page 4. And then, for the part B, yung part A, boiling water. Yung part B, melting point. Melting point naman yung dinidiscuss. So, for the illustration, mayroon tayong melted na ice, no? So, yun lang naman yung mga materials natin readily available sa kitchen. Now, tingnan natin yung illustration na to. Ayan. Among the three pictures, which one is solid? What you think? The first picture. Ito. Okay, correct. This is solid kasi compactly arranged. Okay? They are vibrating in a fixed position, closely packed, compressed. This one, little spaces between them. Okay, loosely packed. So, this is liquid. And randomly arranged, they are moving freely, very far apart. Ayan, nakikita natin. This is gas. 'Di ba? Ang pinaka mabilis gumalaw dyan is gas because we are adding more and more heat. Pero pinaka least ang energy dyan na tinutukoy natin is the solid. O nakikita naman natin using illustration, 'di ba? Kung alin yung mas energetic. Now, ayan, nakikita nyo na, nare-reveal na natin yung sagot. Solid, liquid, and gas. So, the red arrow represent heat. Okay? So, solid, we add more heat, turns into liquid in a process called melting. So, ganyan siya mag-change. Physical lang to Ang tawag sa mga dinidiscuss natin is phase change. So, melting is one form of phase change. Binabago mo yung solid phase, turns into liquid phase. So, nagiging ganito na yung structure niya. From solid na compactly arranged, magiging loosely packed. Okay, magme-melt siya. Again, red arrow represents more heat. So, liquid, add more heat to it, turns into gas in a process called evaporation. Again, this is another form of phase change. Lahat ng phase changes na examples are all under physical change kasi physical lang yung nagbago. Okay? So, si solid, example, yellow, nagdagdag ka ng init, nagmelt, magta-turns into liquid. Yung liquid na mula sa yellow, kapag dinagdagan mo pa ng more heat, mag-evaporate yan, magta-turn into gas. So, if you add or absorb heat, the atoms move faster. So, gumagalaw ng mabilis. Nakikita naman natin sa illustration. Therefore, kinetic energy, that is energy in motion or for the moving particles, kinetic energy is also higher. So, faster, higher. Kapag nadadagdagan ng init. So, alin dyan ang pinaka-highest? Yung gas. Higher liquid, tapos hindi na masyado sa solid. Next, blue arrow represents cooling down or we are removing the heat. So, gas, if we remove more heat, magko-cool down siya. So, medyo babagal yung galaw niya, magdidikit-dikit ng konti, loosely packed na siya, becomes liquid. So, gas turns into liquid when we remove more heat and that becomes condensation. So, ang kabaliktaran ni condensation ay evaporation. Okay? Ang kabaliktaran naman ni evaporation ay condensation. Next, let's remove more heat. So, yung liquid, bawasan natin ng init pa. Magdidikit-dikit na yan. Liquid turns into solid and that becomes freezing. Okay? Ang kabaliktaran ni freezing ay melting. Kabaliktaran ni melting ay freezing. So, they are reversible. Now, if you remove or release heat, naglabas ka, nagtanggal ka ng init doon sa phase of matter natin, yung mga atoms mas nagiging mabagal. Nakita naman natin sa illustration, di ba? Yung gas, ang bilis-bilis, binawasan mo ng init, nag-remove ka, nag-release ka ng init, bumagal. Nagdikit-dikit, naglapit-lapit ng konti, naging liquid. So, yung kinetic energy niya, since they are moving slower, yung kinetic energy niya mababa. So, pinakamababa dyan yung sa solid, dun sa freezing na. Meron mga transition or phase changes rather, na kung saan hindi na dumadaan ng liquid phase, diretsong from solid, diretso naging gas, no? Ganun kabilis, and gas diretso naging solid. So, pag nagdagdag tayo dun sa solid ng sobra-sobrang init, hindi na siya magto-turn into liquid. Diretso siyang gas. Ang tawag doon, ayan, red arrow represents adding heat or absorbing heat. So, diretso na siya na solid from gas. Hindi na nag-turn into liquid. Ang tawag natin doon, sublimation. Ano example nun? Yung mga albatross, yung perfume na solid sa banyo, yung nilalagay sa banyo. Tsaka yung car freshener na mga gel. 'Di ba? Pag sobrang init, hindi mo makita, nasaan yung liquid nito, bakit naubos? O kasi nga solid, diretso naging gas. Ganun din yung albatross sa CR, no? Ang bango-bango. Pero hindi naman tumutulo, nagme-melt na lang siya ng lang liquid. So, turns into gas directly, sublimation. Yung mga naphthalene balls, yung mga bilog-bilog na puti na nilalagay dun sa mga cabinet, tas ang bango-bango, kala mo itlog ng butike, pero naphthalene ball pala. Yun, mothballs, sublimation yun. Okay, pag naman nagbawas tayo ng init, yan, blue arrow represents removing or releasing heat. So, bumabagal. Hindi na siya dumadaan sa liquid, diretso from gas to solid. May mga ganyang cases, no? Sa sobrang pagbabawas ng init, sobrang lumamig. Deposition. Ano example niyan? So, kung nandun kayo sa mga four-season country like America, ganyan, South Korea, meron silang mga winter season. So, yung gas na malamig, sobrang lamig, magugulat ka na lang, may mga dumidikit-dikit na sa salamin ng bintana paggising nyo sa umaga o kaya sa mga kotse, no? Sa mga halaman na frozen na siya, no? Diretso siya naging solid. Ganun din yung sa freezer, pag bagong bili, 'di ba? Sasaksak mo, magkakaroon ng gas doon. Tapos magulat ka na lang, wala naman liquid, pero may namuo sa gilid-gilid ng freezer nyo na yellow, no? So, that's gas turns into solid directly without turning into liquid. So, ito yung deposition. Ayan. Yun yung natin. Ang reversible ng sublimation ay deposition. Kabaliktaran naman ng deposition ay sublimation. So, dito natin nakikita kung gaano ka-importante ang temperature para magkaroon ng physical change. Yan. So, yung solid natin na butter, nag-melt, magiging liquid. Melting yon. So, ganun siya. Tapos, under din siya ng example ng phase change kasi you are changing or transforming from solid phase to liquid phase. You are transforming liquid phase to gaseous phase and etc. Kaya siya tinawag na phase change. Tandaan, ang phase change ay under pa rin ang physical change. So, ang ice na nag-melt o ang butter na nag-melt ay nananatiling butter pa din at ice pa rin. Okay? That's it. Now, you can answer also activity 2, dense into live. So, yung part A, density naman siya. Ayan yung example, no, yung drawing sa baba. Meron tayo niyan diniscuss dun sa visual lesson natin ng module 1. Pwede nyo ulit siyang balikan sa ating YouTube channel, no? And then, after analyzing the picture about density, you may now answer guide questions A to F. So, yung table 2 natin, analyze nyo, may iba't ibang materials na commonly ginagamit natin, may kanya-kanya siyang density. Yun ang dahilan kung bakit may mga pumapaibabaw na materials and may pumapailalim. So, yung part B naman natin, specific gravity, no? Ina-explain naman natin dito yung nagsisink or nagfo-float na mga objects, no? So, readily available naman din yan sa bahay natin, sa kitchen, kaya pwede natin siyang gawin at home. For part 3, it matters a lot. Ayan. Napakahalaga ng matter, class. Kaya, sana na-appreciate nyo siya. Does matter matter? The answer is yes. So, meron tayo ditong part A again and part B. So, complete nyo lang yung chart, no? Ayan, na-explain natin pala kanina yung chart na ginamit natin. O, ito rin siya pala, meron dito, part A. No? May yes or no question, no? So, sagutan nyo lang siya. Check nyo yung diniscuss natin kanina na chart. Ayan yun. And then part B, meron ulit tayo dito mga materials. Lagay nyo lang sa tamang column kung ito ay mixture or homogeneous. Mixture, pure substance, sorry. And then, kung element compound naman siya. So, that's letter B. Example niyan is pineapple juice, no? So, may example naman nakalagay. So, lalagay nyo kung yung pineapple juice ay under ng pure substance or mixture. So, mixture siya. And then, kung mixture naman siya, ano siya? Homogeneous or heterogeneous in terms of solution. Sorry, nabubulol. So, 1 to 10 yan. Okay? May given na example, so wala na malilito. And then, check your understanding. So, meron tayo ditong mga choices sa baba. Ayan, yung mga nasa rectangle na may mga word bank. Yan yung mga pwede nyo ilagay sa solids, liquids, and gases. Again, wag na kayong gumawa ng sarili nyo sagot kasi makikita na yung sagot dyan no, sa mga word bank na nasa loob ng rectangle sa baba. And then, ilagay nyo lang siya dun sa Venn diagram. And then, do not forget kung ano ibig sabihin ng boiling point, ng condensation, ng specific gravity, and etc. So, natatagpuan niya dito sa remember. Hindi ko pwedeng ibigay lahat ng sagot, no? Kasi naka-jumbled siya. Kayo pala magsasagot niyan. Nabigay ko na yung iba. And then, for reflection, lagay nyo lang kung ano natutunan nyo, anong importance ng natutunan nyo, kung gano'n ka-importante yung matter, paano nyo siya ma-apply sa buhay nyo. Okay? And then, let's now answer the post test. I will read to you question number 1. What happened to liquid when it evaporates? A. Air, B. Gas, C. Water vapor, D. Both B and C. Number 2. Which of the physical states of water contains particles with the lowest kinetic energy? A. Ice, B. Melting ice, C. Steam, D. Water. 3. The particles in a solid that is melting move farther and farther apart because A. The particles slow down, B. The particles begin to lose their shape, C. The particles repel each other more intensely, or D. The particles have more energy and bump into each other more often. Next, number 4. If two objects have the same volume, but one has greater mass, the one with greater mass has A. Has a lower density, B. Has a higher density, C. It will float, D. None of these. I think nabigay ko yung example nito dun sa crumpled paper at hindi crumpled paper and dun sa bread, yung Pinoy Tasty. Number 5, your blood, when magnified, reveals several kinds or different kinds of cells. Based on this information, your blood is an example of A. Compound, B. Pure substance, C. Heterogeneous mixture, or D. Homogeneous mixture. Okay, if you're done, let's check. For number 1, the answer is D. Both B and C. Number 2, correct answer is A. Ice. 3. D. The particles have more energy and bump into each other more often. Number 4, it's B. Has a higher density. And number 5 is letter C, your blood is heterogeneous mixture. So I hope you learned something. Do not forget to ask your teacher in the GC that you have per section if you have still more questions and confusion. Have a great day and goodbye.